Welcome to Sports Lab Overtime. I'm Justin Baxley, joined by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers #1 fan, Luis Rodriguez. Luis, glad to have you here. We've been trying to get this lined up for a little bit. Excited to have you here on Sports Lab Overtime. Man, you got the Chris Godwin jersey on today. Tell us a little bit about that Bucs fandom we got going on.
Come on. What's going on with you, Justin? How you guys doing? I'm not a Bucs fan. I live in Tampa. Yeah, shout out A13. Shout out. So, unfortunately, I bet that on Tuesday morning, before head bowl coach comes to inside the huddle, I was going to wear a Bucs jersey. So, now I'm here just paying the price of my Niners losing to the Bucs. Actually, it was a good game, Justin. I'm not going to lie. It was a good, really, really good game.
It really was. Kevin Winter, shout out to him as well. He, we had a couple tickets from. We went down and it was a great time. I'll say this, fan experience wise, there's very few as good as that Bucs. And I'm a Georgia boy, so I've been spoiled by Mercedes-Benz Stadium up in Atlanta. The cost of concessions is insane up there. It's like $5 for a burger. Burger, fries, and a drink is like $5. You can't beat it. So it was a sticker shock for me at first, but it was still a good time. I thought it was a fun game. They do a lot of interactive stuff with the fans. The cannons,
You love them?
oh my
How they
gosh.
throw the jerseys?
Well, just all of it, like the pirate ship. It's such a cool atmosphere for a professional football game.
Definitely.
I feel like college games to me are the best because the environment's insane. You've got 90,000 people in the swamp going crazy, right?
Yeah.
You've got Won't Back Down. There's tradition. There's all this stuff. Sometimes that gets lost in the NFL. So I think the Bucs do a really good job of finding a way to bring some tradition, bring some fun moments to the game and the environment. And look, the two teams, despite a bajillion injuries, it felt like on both sides, both teams were a ton of fun to watch. Fred Warner, man, I hate that for him. I was sitting next to a Niners fan, and we started to talk at the same time, and we both said, man, he's the best linebacker in the league. Like, we were both started the sentence at the same time, had no clue that we were going to both make the same point. But we both said we think he's probably the best linebacker in the league. And I don't know, you'd be hard-pressed to be able to argue against it. I think he's that good. I think he's only missed one game in his entire career up until this point. And now he's probably lost for the season. I think he dislocated his ankle, broke his ankle, had some potential tendon damage. Just a tough loss for a team, frankly, Luis, that has been struggling with injuries this season. Brock Purdy, Mac Jones has been injured. Ricky Pearsall, obviously a Gator, former Gator, has been out the last couple games. And then Kittle, they're all pro tight end. And then this is another big blow. Bosa also out. And then on the Buccaneers side, Luis, there's a ton of injuries over there. They are without two of their starting offensive linemen. They're without their top 3 receivers now. And then without Bucky Irving as well. But both of the teams continue to win, despite the injuries and despite the potential rough start to the season. What were your thoughts on the game?
My thoughts on the game, I know it's going to be a competitive game since the beginning of since they start kickoff, just because both teams were coming in only with one loss. They both compete, great organizations like San Francisco. Watching it since I was a kid, that's how I became, when I was back home. That's when Jim Harbaugh and Colin Kaepernick was, on the horizon. Like, they were coming up, and they were only playing back in Panama. They were only playing like primetime games. So that's how I became a Niners fan. But watching those two teams Sunday, man, you can see like how competitive they are and how disciplined, I would say. Baker Mayfield, in my opinion, right now he's the MVP of the season by far. You can talk about Josh Allen, you can talk about all other players, but Baker, what Baker is doing, and what he has done since the beginning of the season, just commanding drives. He's looking. I don't want to say he's looking like Brady, but you can see on his face when he's sitting down. He's on the 2 minute drill, just waiting to get the ball back. He knows he wants the moment, like embrace it, and he had like a little bit of struggles before getting into Tampa, like Cleveland, didn't appreciate it that the way they're supposed to appreciate it. The Rams, the Panthers. Now he got to the Bucs and he's really actually doing great. And on the other, when it comes down to the Niners, I think he's been so repetitive the last couple seasons that we always missing one piece. But now we have a whole hospital. Like having the whole hospital as it really just is devastating. But it can also put you in a place that the next man up, like they said every time in like every sport, they always come out and show they battle. And that's one thing that I gotta give Kyle Shanahan, Bob Saleh, and John Lynch. They always like get the talent to be able to just put pieces together and being able to keep competing. Because right now they're sitting at 4-2 in the division, first in the division, after beating the Seahawks in week 1 and after beating the Rams in a couple weeks ago in Thursday Night Football. So I still think that the season is alive for the Niners, but it's gonna be tough. The schedule just gets tougher and tougher, and also with so much injuries, like you just mentioned, Kittle, Nick Bosa is out with the ACL, the second one in his career, and the most devastating one, like you said, I think Fred Warner was having a defensive player of the year. He was the top candidate in my opinion, and just losing him is devastating because, like I read a tweet on X. I forgot the source, but they say how the team around Fred Warner, they see him as Superman because 2018, he got drafted in 2018. He only missed one game. He's been on, the injury list or like questionable for the games just because he get like sick, like food poison or stuff like that, but never missed a game. He only missed one. And now looking at him, like having your best player, because I feel that he's the best player on the roster, just go down like that. And the stadium, you were there, I was there. The stadium just went a little silent. And when everybody started kneeling, that something is not right. Something's not right, and definitely was sad. But in the other side, you can also see a Bucs team that's also talented. They got plenty of injuries. Mike Evans is not there. Chris Godwin is not there. But they find a way to win. Baker, like I said, is the MVP. Rashad White looks super good. And Emeka Egbuka, for the time that he played, looked really good. And also
another injury.
Yeah, another injury. Tex Johnson came out to play. Cameron Johnson came out to play. Like, you can see that they have a lot of backup and a lot of like pieces they can put together to be able to succeed. When you have a QB like Baker Mayfield nowadays that knows how to like gather the troops and know how to play football, and he can actually come out and just tell the offense, yo, this is what we're going to do, or don't worry, guys, I'm going to make the play. And you have a leader like that, everything just, I think, it feels easy, and he brings confidence to the surroundings, to the wide receivers, to the running backs, to the offensive line. Because that play, man, where he come out of the scramble and he just run and got the first down and the third down, I think that's the play that's like sealed the game. To seal the game, just because 2 plays later he throw a 50-yard bomb to Tex Johnson, and the game was over pretty much there. Fred Warner was already out, and then the Niners were having trouble of moving up the field trying to get scores. And that's what happens when you have a great team and a great leader and a great organization. Shout out the Bucs too. They won the Super Bowl in 2021, and a lot of people thought that when Brady was out, this team was gonna go, downhill. And the people surrounding Ty Bowles, all the organization, the Blazer family, they have done a great job of just keeping the ship on board, and being able to be a great organization. It was the first time you went to the Raymond James?
Yeah, that was my first experience at Raymond James. And again, yeah, they do a really good job there. Luis, you hit on so much. Just to circle it back, you talk about the next man up mentality, right? Ricky Pearsall looked like he was going to be the next man up, and not as necessary. I think he's probably their wide receiver one with Ayuk injured still. And Jawan Jennings is kind of a number one for them, sort of, but I think Ricky was starting to get into that position, and then he gets hurt. But you talk about being the number one wide receiver on this roster. Yesterday, on Sunday, Kendrick Bourne put up 142 yards on 5 catches. Mac Jones, the backup quarterback, threw for 347 yards. It was the 2 back-breaking interceptions that frankly really took them out of that game. And the one on I think it was the first drive that led to the Bucs scoring after a really great defensive stand. And then you talk about the reaction from the players with Fred Warner when they kneeled. But it was also, like, if you go back and watch the video, Tez Johnson, like, starts motioning to the sideline, and then he covers his face. Like, he was, like, you knew immediately it was a really bad injury. The cart came out very quickly. At first, I was kind of hoping that Fred had just kind of gotten rolled up on. That was going to be like a sprained ankle. But they brought that out there, and then they stuck the air cast on. So you knew immediately it was, I don't want to say Joe Theismann-esque, thinking back to the old Lawrence Taylor hit on him. That's the kind of injury we saw on Sunday with Fred Warner. But you're right, it is kind of next man up. And then you start looking at, well, when Ricky Pearsall gets back, oh man, he could be really special in this offense. And so I think, if you're out there as a Gator fan, and especially seeing Gators do well at the next level, Ricky was starting to really show some signs of, like, oh, this guy's going to be good at the NFL level. I'm excited to see him slot back in potentially as the number one receiver when he's able to get back, because he could start putting up some of those big numbers just like Kendrick Bourne. And then you mentioned over on the Tampa side, if you're a Bucs fan right now, you've got to have to be thinking, man, go from Tom Brady, and we think, you're right, we're going to have some down years. Baker Mayfield has not allowed that to happen. He's immediately stepped in, been really, really good. He's playing the best football of his career. I've watched Baker for his whole career now, back to where he was a walk-on in college, to winning the Heisman, to losing to Georgia in the Rose Bowl. That was one, I mean, a lot of respect was earned over the last couple years for Baker, because the kid that he was in college is not the kid the man he is now. He still has that killer instinct, that dog in him, so to speak. He trash talks, but now it feels like he just wants it more. Like, there's something that has clicked in Baker Mayfield over the last couple seasons, and I think a lot of it is he is one of those players that frankly seems to feed off of being doubted. You saw it in college, he being a walk-on, right? And he goes from walk-on to Heisman. He feeds off of being doubted. And then when he gets ready, to go to the NFL, he's told, oh, you'll never make it in the NFL. You certainly won't be a first overall pick is what he ended up as. So it just seems like at every turn you see Baker Mayfield do everything he can to prove the haters wrong. He did a really good job. I thought he was great in Cleveland. I thought he had his moments. I think it speaks more to the dysfunction of the franchise there, more so than it does Baker Mayfield. And maybe perhaps the best thing that happened to him was getting moved off of the Browns. He goes to Carolina. Him and Sam Darnold are both there. I think he said something last week about that he and Sam don't there weren't good times in Carolina for them. You'll remember, Luis, he got to go to the Rams as kind of an emergency quarterback. He basically got off the plane and went and played like the next night or something for, I think Stafford or somebody was injured. He goes out, plays a phenomenal game, and basically that's when I think it became clear he was going to get another chance to be a starting quarterback. And so the Buccaneers brought him in to compete with a former Gator, Kyle Trask. And And I think a lot of people thought that Kyle Trask never really got a fair shake in Tampa, and that's probably fair. He's a second-round pick. Brady's there, and then you think, well, they're going to give him a shot. And then the Baker that showed up in Tampa was MVP level Baker. And so, you can't start a kid over this level of talent. And so you hate it for Kyle Trask, but man, is this guy. You said MVP level? Yeah, I mean, that's where he is right now. It was so funny on Sunday. They started chanting MVP, MVP. And our guy, Tez Johnson, catches the touchdown after. He said he walked up to Sterling Shepard and said they were chanting MVP. And he said, Shep, I haven't done anything all season. Why were they chanting MVP? And he said Sterling Shepard looked at him and said, buddy, that was for Baker. That wasn't for you.
It was for Baker. Yeah, I mean, it's well-deserved for Baker. The maturity, I would say, is the word that I can use to describe Baker Mayfield. Like you just mentioned, that kid, when he was coming out of college, he was just arrogant, let's say. A lot of people didn't like it. For example, what he did on Ohio State when they beat Ohio State was something that, man, a lot of people hated. And now coming in and being this type of QB that can just probably take the Bucs all the way. Like, if I'm being honest, the way they playing, this is like the way they playing, and also not having the team fully healthy. It speaks volumes of how Baker Mayfield has matured and has been able to take this job seriously. Being a QB in the NFL might be the hardest jobs in the world, man. And just being able to have it for, like, the amount of years that, let's say, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, all these guys were in that position. And it's just hard, winning the Heisman, like you just mentioned, winning the Heisman, being the first overall pick, going to a franchise that has not been good forever. I've never seen the Browns being good. And then just try his best to just keep the ship on board with them, but it didn't work out. Then be like kind of some sort of a journeyman. Like you said, he went to the Panthers, then he went to the Rams, and in the Rams, you have Matthew Stafford. So you just bring him in to just play a couple games until he gets good, and then we can bring it back. And then he did well, and then going to Tampa to a place, and it was probably the right timing if you see it that way. The right timing, just because Tom Brady was leaving. I thought he was going to leave earlier. I thought he was going to leave on that game. I think it was on 2022 when they played the Rams, when the Rams won that Super Bowl, that Brady went crazy. They went to overtime, and then Matthew Stafford connected with Cooper Kupp, and they lost the game on overtime. I thought that was the fairy tale ending that Brady was going to get, but I guess it wasn't. Then you bring a guy like Baker, you said, to compete with Kyle Trask, and unfortunately, I feel this in that way when with the experience of Baker already being a veteran in the NFL and just being able to move more control, more like have a better pace when it comes down to like being the QB, because the weapons were still there. You still have Mike Evans, you still got Chris Godwin, you have drafted Rashad White, and you have Bucky Irvin. So yeah, man, it's like I get so amazed of how good and how people, like how a person that being on the highest of the highs and being on the lowest of the lows can just mature and keep evolving as a person and also as a player, because his game is the man. I remember he used to scramble a lot. I mean, he does it still now, but still he's accurate. He can make plays down the field. It's different. Baker Mayfield is really a good team, and I'm happy for him, because you want to see talent like that talent that actually were like first picks or Heisman winners. Just keep building on that legacy of greatness. Like that's, for example, I give you the example of LeBron. You know how LeBron came from high school, and a lot of people doubt him, but he was ready for the moment. And we see 21 years later, I think it is, he's still the best. I'm not saying that Baker's going to play 21 years, but watching a talent like him, that also shows you that dog mentality that a lot of people get in love with. Like Brady had it, like Jordan had it, like Kobe had it. Like just having that dog mentality. I'm going to compete, and everybody else, I'm just riding with my team because those are my dogs. Everybody else that's outside, I'm coming for you. That's something that I feel a lot of people and a lot of players nowadays, because it's a lot of friendly, kumbaya, stuff like that. So now you have a player like Baker that he's focused in the moment. He wants it. He embraced it. So, yeah, I just hope that the Bucs can doing good. I'm not gonna say because they be my Niners, I'm not gonna be good. Yes, I'm fine. I'm fine. I live in Tampa. I'm not gonna talk, bad about the team that I in the city I reside with when I go home. So, but yeah, I'm happy for Baker. I'm happy for the Bucks, and I hope that they keep just grinding, getting better, and also my Niners. Hope they get healthy. That's the most important thing. Like coming back and being able to compete like they have been done for the last, let's say, 5-6 years. So yeah, man, it's pretty satisfying to see teams like that, just like organizations like that I actually from top to bottom are good, just keep getting better and better.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've heard it here first from the Bucks' #1 fan,
Oh my,
Luis
come on, man.
Rodriguez. No, I've got to razz you a little bit. Obviously, you are a big Niners guy, but
Yeah.
switch gears here before we head over to the head ball coach over on Inside the Huddle with Shane Matthews and Steve Russell, alongside our Gator great Steve Spurrier. Luis, we'll switch gears over to talking a little Florida football.
Here we go.
Yeah, there we go. You mentioned about adversity and being able to bounce back and all those things when talking about Baker Mayfield, and it seems like Florida, the football program as a whole, needs a little bit of that right now. Is that resiliency, something to go right for him? Because man, it was tough sledding against Texas A&M, and there were a lot of moments where you can point back to, and you just have to think, what on earth were they thinking? What was happening? Why were certain plays called? Why were certain decisions made? And I'll be honest, I've been a little nicer about some of those decisions on Saturday. I know a lot of people were upset with the 2-minute offense near the end of the first half, and rightfully so. If that's, if you're thinking at it from we're a dominant, we should be a dominant team that's going out and trying to get points before the half. My argument is I don't know that Coach Napier really could trust the team to go out and get those yards to go get points. And I think it became more of a defensive mindset of playing not to lose instead of playing to win at that point. And so it felt like he was just trying to make sure that Texas A&M didn't have any time left when they got the ball. And when they got the ball, they ran it once and then got off the field. They realized they didn't have enough time to go out and try to make something happen. So in that regard, I guess it worked. But then you see the 4th and 6 call, and really the 3rd and 6 call wasn't great either. But you see the 3rd and 6 call and the 4th and 6 call at the start of the fourth quarter, and then all of a sudden it felt like he was playing to win instead of playing not to lose. And it just felt like a really weird spot to decide to do that at that point. So I guess in some ways he was, in each of those situations, maybe he should have done the exact opposite of what he ended up doing. Specifically in that fourth quarter, just punt the ball, play field position. Your defense is playing out of its mind. You just forced a big turnover. Jalen Castile had the big interception on Marcel Reed, and it looked like Florida was going to have a chance to go down and tie the game. But once the drive stalled out, I thought, well, you flipped the field because you got the ball at the 25. You're now around the 46. You've kind of flipped the field. Just go ahead and punt that thing away, and let's see what we can do to pin this offense deep in its own territory. And maybe if Marcel Reed is kind of playing, I don't want to say scared, but if he's playing a little bit more loose with the football, there's a chance, very similar to we were talking about Mac Jones a minute ago. Mac on the first drive throws an interception near his own goal line, and that turns into points for the Buccaneers. It's very similar. If Florida had just punted the ball away there's a chance that we do see that or something similar. I mean, you can always strip sack, or it's just a quick 3 and out. You get the ball right around where you had it before. But I think he was worried about kicking it out of the end zone, giving him the ball at the 25. But I mean, I don't know why that's – I don't really – that doesn't compute for me. I am of the belief that you have an opportunity to pin that team deep. Your defense is playing well. Instead, you give them the ball basically at the 50-yard line, and then you ask a defense that's already playing above its head, so to speak, because of all the injuries that it's had. You're asking it now to stop probably a top 2 or 3 offense in college football again with short field. Luis, that those 2 calls to me were a microcosm of what we've seen over the last few years of Billy Napier, frankly.
To be honest with you, we can call the plays too. Like we can tell about the 4 and 6, and everything else the third down. But I will also mention that just having an offense that you have all the talent in the world, and I think I mentioned a couple times in the sports lab how the wide receiver room. I feel that if they were on sync, they would probably be the best wide receiving core in the country, just because of the amount of talent that we'll see on that offense. Also, a ball that's just unstoppable. But obviously, on a Saturday night, that was not the case. Texas A&M just had monsters on both line of scrimmages. But going back to the plays, just having an offense like the one Billy Napier is running does not help the fact that Florida can have all this time in the world, but if you don't have the right play calling, it's not going to be able to work. How can you call in a third down a screen pass or trying to run it down the middle, third and long, or 4 down and trying to run it down the middle, trying to be a screen pass? Like, we got to be a little bit more creative with all the talent that you have there. You say that that he don't trust the team. Might be the case. It might be the case because how, like I just said, you have all this talent and you're not able to execute. The first drive was probably like the best thing that you saw in Florida since the Texas game. After that, it's all over and all over and all over of the same play calling that Billy Napier has been calling in the 4 years that he has been the head coach in the University of Florida. I feel bad for a team like this that's so talented and a team that actually fights, because you see the defense, and you mentioned it. You give it short field, and the defense gotta go out there one more time and trying to make a stop when they already making stops after stops after stops. I will forget about probably the first couple of the first couple of series for Texas A&M win, because Texas A&M is just that good of a team. I think it has the best team on the SEC. You saw the first drive. It's funny. I mentioned something about, I want DJ Lagway and Billy Napier to make a call like four wide receivers throw a 50-yard bomb in the first play of the game, and that's exactly what Marcel Reed did with Texas A&M. It's like just having that X factor. We have a lot of X factors: Dallas Wilson, Bernard Brown, Jaden Ball, and not be able to capitalize off what we have. It's just sad, man. Like, coming to this university, I came a year ago. And everybody just talk about Gator Nation, how big Gator Nation is, and how people support. And it's just sad to see, like, couple of seasons and the seasons pass by, and during Billy Napier era, how they are not as competitive and they should be when they are on paper. On paper, you see from top to bottom how competitive they can be when it comes down to talent. But when they play, it's just it's like they flip the coin and it's totally different, man. It's totally different. It's kind of sad because we all came with expectations with how recruitment went and how training camp went, and how they talk about, training camp was awesome. I know DJ wasn't able to practice, and Dallas Wilson wasn't able to practice neither the way they wanted to be. But still, when you see like the Texas game, that I don't want to say it's an outlier, but when you see flashes like that in a Texas game against a good team, because Texas is, like, in my opinion, it's a good team. They might not have the best season, but that's everybody. Florida State didn't have a good season last year, and now look at them. Alabama, the same thing.
Now they lost 3 in a row.
Yeah, now they lost 3 in a row. But like they started being good. They started rattling, and now the calendar just get difficult. But Florida, it just seems like they cannot do better than what the paper says. And yeah, it's kind of sad, man. Texas A&M, shout out to them because Mike Elko, I think it comes down with also the culture that you can
Mhm.
build and how great you can be. They have everybody there. I'm not gonna lie. I wanted to be on that game, Justin. I feel that Texas A&M, Cal Field is probably the best atmosphere, one of the best atmospheres in college football, and the Gators were not able to capitalize in a great opportunity to just keep building momentum. You can build momentum here, come back to the swamp, but what about the important games? What about the big games that you should be able to compete and just win? Because you can look good on paper, like I just said, but just going out there and trying to get the win, and the team to actually look good, it just looks difficult for this Florida Gators team, man.
Yeah, it's a tough thing to try to reconcile with. You look at on paper, they're one of the best teams in the country, right? Like the composite score will tell you they're a top 12 talent team, but they're sitting at 2-4, and look, the schedule's tough. Nobody's arguing that. It's a tough schedule. But you mentioned A&M's got one great atmosphere, and you mentioned the great. They played a good game. I thought Florida played with them for most of that game up until the end. They scored obviously the 10 in the fourth quarter, but Florida had more passing yards than Marcel Reed. The rushing game is really where it kind of lets you down, which I didn't expect. And then third downs once again was a problem for the Gators. But you mentioned Mike Elko and the stuff that he's building over there. It really shows. There are a lot of people that when you get in a situation where you're getting ready to move on from a head coach, there's a lot of people that get scared at the unknown of like, well, who could you bring in? What if we get the wrong guy again? What if this happens? What if that happens? Mike Elko is walking proof that the scary decision of letting Jimbo Fisher with a $76 million buyout, letting him walk is a very scary proposition. But as long as you get the next hire right, nobody remembers that you had to pay $76 million to Jimbo Fisher, the most ever in college football. Nobody remembers that the team wasn't playing up to its potential. You talk about composite scores, that team had like number 2 or number 3 under Jimbo Fisher. Yeah. Jimbo recruited really well at Texas A&M. But it comes down to, you're right, it's the culture, it's the play calling, it's the winning games that maybe you shouldn't win, or it's staying in games and beating teams you should beat. Look, this game on Saturday night, Texas A&M was favored by about a touchdown, a little over maybe. I know the line kept kind of moving down as the day went along, but that's a game where you get into it after the first quarter. It's 14-14. Both teams are trading blows. Texas A&M grabs one more score before the half and one score coming out of the half to put it at, I think it was like 24-17. And you start looking and you go, this is one of those situations where Texas A&M is going to beat a team that they're supposed to beat after the team that they're supposed to beat comes out and kind of punches them in the mouth a couple times. And those are the kind of things that the University of Florida has to do more often. When South Florida comes out and punches you in the mouth, they're a team you're supposed to beat. But when they punch you in the mouth, you got to be able to handle that punch, come back, punch back, and go out there and take care of business and win that game 34-17 or 34-18, whatever it is. You've got to be able to go out and win that game in that same fashion. And Texas A&M did it. And a big part of that is Mike Elko and what he's done for that program. You go back and look at the Notre Dame game. That was a 41-40 win. Yeah, they won because somebody fumbled the snap on the extra point. But you're putting yourself in the position to win football games. I think it was Josh Pate after Tennessee lost to Georgia. Kirby said something about they had no business winning that football game. Josh Pate said, if you continue to put yourself in a position to win those football games, you absolutely deserve it. even if the product on the field doesn't look quite as polished as what you'd want, you've still put yourself in the position to win the football games. And recently, Florida just hasn't given himself the opportunity to win these games. You go back and look at the LSU game; they lost that one 20-10, but they never really had a chance to go win it at the end because they made interception 3, 4, and 5 down the stretch that put them out of it. They couldn't give themselves the opportunity of going down on the last possession to go score a winning touchdown. The one on Saturday night, they're hanging with them until the fourth quarter, but they never got a chance after that fourth down to really go out and try to win the football game. That, to me, and even Miami, was really close until the fourth quarter. But how much of that is the defense is held strong all day long, and the offense just hasn't provided much? Outside of the first quarter, there wasn't a ton of that. But, Luis, one thing I also think that needs to be talked about is the ability to make adjustments in games. You notice that Austin Barber's getting blown up on the left side.
Yeah.
Can we double team Cassius Howell? Can we chip him with a running back? What are there not things that you can do to make adjustments when you see things that aren't working? I mean, Texas A&M clearly made adjustments after the first quarter. Those routes that were getting open to start with were no longer open because and Billy talked about it, they made adjustments. I just don't know that the team makes enough adjustments aren't going well. It's almost, I guess it goes back again to that microcosm of what things have been like over the last few weeks with Coach Napier and really the last couple of years of just kind of doing the same things over and over again, expecting a different result. And that includes continuing to call the same plays. And I left thinking on Saturday, what could have been for this season if there had just been a little bit more creativity and play calling. And look, it's not, let me just say, it is never just one thing when you're talking about a team going 2-4 when they have a talent to be a 6-0 team. It's never one thing. So it's not just the play call. It's not just clock management. It's also the execution by the players, sure. But it's also not just that. It's making adjustments when the game plan doesn't work. You can't repeatedly get outflanked to the adjustment, and that seems to be the storyline of the last, outside of the Texas game, of the last 4 weeks at the University of Florida.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because, like I just mentioned, they have all this talent in the offense, and it looks like they don't know what exactly they're doing when the when the pipes, how they say, the pipes get I forgot the saying, but when it gets tough, and you gotta show who you really are. Like, I don't want to say that Florida is showing who they really are, but that Florida can show, and that they haven't. Like, say, having people like just going on third down, fourth down, and just doing screen passes, trying to run it down the middle. It's just hard to watch, Justin. It's just hard to watch because you would think that Billy might have something out of his pocket. He might pull something, a crazy play, a trick play, or everything, or just having people in motion and 2-minute drill. Oh my God! Like, are we really doing this? To be honest, I feel that Texas A&M was a test, like a big wake up call when it comes down to this is how exactly a team is run. Having the defense just there trying to battle with an all-star team, I will say that is Texas A&M defense, and also their line of scrimmage. They dominate both lines of scrimmage. It's just difficult to watch because it can, like I just said, it just tells you how a team is actually being run the right way. Having a leader, sometimes the speech, it just gets too old. Sometimes you just gotta change the words, or the person that approached the team, the team might be tired. I don't want to sound like that or question somebody's, because I'm a student. I never play football, but I watch it a lot to be able to know, this is not working right here, and this is not working here, so we got to change something. and going to halftime and not be able to make adjustments. Every time I see a sport, when you see a team coming out the second half, either basketball or football or even soccer, you see different type of adjustments. Either they change a player, either they change the scheme, either they go somewhere and they find something or they say something on the locker room that really impact and give the players some fire that when they come out, there's a whole different ball game. Like you just mentioned, they were competing against LSU. I feel they were competing. Obviously, DJ had that bad game that he hasn't have no more, but he had that bad game. And then you go to Miami, they also compete that game. It wasn't the best game, but still, you can see them actually going for it. The defense, and that's something that a lot of people were worried about. No, everybody talk about how this, and I keep saying it, this talent on offense and everything that we have, and everybody most worried about the defense. And what happened now? It's the defense that's actually carrying the team because of playing and how they're not quitting on each other. And then you see Texas, and now you see Texas A&M, and it's just, man, it's just. I don't want to say that Texas was an outlier, but you can see the difference. And I feel that right now, Billy Napier, the way he's running the program and how everything is going, it's just gonna be hard to watch. It's hard to watch. I don't know what to expect. To be honest with you, when it comes down to the homecoming game against Mississippi State, just because I don't know exactly mentally where all the players are and where exactly Billy Napier's at as a head coach, what he's gonna do, what he's gonna run, what he's gonna come out with. Just because right now, Gator Nation is not happy at all, and I don't think they have been happy in a while, man. I got to this place, and I never seen Gator Nation happy. And you go to the stadium, you see people happy and having fun in the swamp. The swamp is a beautiful place, but still, we got as fan base. I feel that the Gators, they cannot mediocrity. They cannot settle for mediocrity. They cannot settle to, oh my God, yeah, it's always next year. But what about now? What about bringing a culture and fighting for the logo that you have on your shirt? That's pretty important to me, man. Pretty important to just being able to have pride and being able to show up game day and just be able to man, if you take one arm out of me, I'm trying to punch you with the second one. If I lose my second arm, I'm gonna try to bite you.
Yeah.
If I cannot bite you, I'm gonna try to kick you. Trying to have that dog mentality. And sometimes the team is a reflection of the head coach, and the head coach is not showing their best cards right now. So it's pretty difficult to believe in this Florida Gators football team, man.
It's it is. It's been tough. And you mentioned Mississippi State. I know they've lost a couple in a row. Tennessee, really close, and then they lost to Texas A&M, 31-9. But they've had a bye week, and they've had a chance to kind of recover and recuperate. And it's a losable game for Florida.
Yeah.
I don't know that we thought that coming into the year. I think a lot of people thought this was going to be one of those games we could actually just go ahead and chalk it up as a win and keep it moving. It doesn't feel that way anymore. It's imperative that they get this win. I think especially homecoming, because you got the bye week then to go get ready for Georgia. I think a loss to Mississippi State. I don't even know that we can talk about it yet of what that would mean for this program as it tries to just finish out a season that, frankly, Luis had so much hope and so many expectations coming into the year. I thought that, we were looking at a team. We talked all summer. Could DJ Lagway win a Heisman? Could this team compete for a playoff spot? All that talk seems far, far away from where this team has ended up here through the first 6 games. And you just have to hope that at some point something clicks. But if nothing else, just for fans to be able to experience some good moments in the swamp down the stretch, some recruits to get to see what the swamp looks like at full force, and for the players that are left on this team to see that it's worth sticking around this place. It's worth not running off in the portal really giving this place a shot because it's a special place. But there's nobody better to talk about this place than the guy we have coming up next. The head ball coach, Steve Spurrier, will be joined by Shane Matthews, Steve Russell on Inside the Huddle. That'll be followed by Sports Scene with Steve Russell, Sports Lab with Kevin Winter, Sports Lab with a couple of Luis's friends from the INC. And then after that, the tailgate will get you ready to head home before we get Ryan Tice. The Ryan Tice Show will air right after the tailgate. Luis, I appreciate you coming on to Sports Lab Overtime. We'll definitely have you back. Enjoyed hearing a lot of great football talk today from our Bucs fan.
Oh man, come on!